when you say you are an Egyptian, are you referring to that thousands of years of history?
Personally, wow, it's not one or the other, in my opinion. Again, it's growing up in the bridge between both, and I don't know if it's correct to see them as distinct. Most likely not, because Egypt has been invaded by everyone. It is the thousands of years before that supports the claim of people saying that, oh, we are Egyptian, not Arab.
Okay. You are an Egyptian, correct?
I am an Egyptian.
So when you say you are an Egyptian, are you referring to that thousands of years of history, or you are referring to the Arab? What do you mean by that?
Wow. Personally, wow, it's not one or the other, in my opinion. Again, it's growing up in the bridge between both, and I don't know if it's correct to see them as distinct, because yes, there is a large history, but it is not. It has not continued. Like compare, for instance, China. Go with me. I'll give you an example. So China, for example, another one of the ancient river valley civilizations, evolved around the Yellow and Yangtze rivers, more or less around the same time, where you have the pharaohs evolving around the Nile. The key difference is that Chinese civilization, language, culture has continued up until today. Like the written Chinese script that is in use in China today has developed from the original oracle bones script that they found in the Shang dynasty. I used to teach history, by the way, in case you're wondering why all of these little nerdy facts.
I'm so happy we are having this conversation. Go on.
Yeah. So Chinese civilization is continuous. So if you ask a Chinese person, they might not have this same conflict, if we can call it that big of a word. But in Egypt's case, we can only guess what if. We can only guess is, what if the Arabs had not arrived? Would Egyptian civilization still have continued? Most likely not, because Egypt has been invaded by everyone, way before the Arabs did. So with the collapse of ancient Egyptian civilization, first there were the Greeks, and then the Romans, and then the Byzantines, and then the Mamelukes, and then the Ottomans, and then the Arabs, and then the Ottomans, and then the British, and then it was independence. And it is that cultural mix that makes it very confusing. Fun fact, I did a DNA test.
Okay.
I did an ancestry test. Okay. And I was not happy. I was surprised, actually.
What did you find?
Even though I 100% identify as Egyptian, I've lived there all my life up until I moved to Dubai 6 years ago. It's home. It will always be home. And regardless if I cannot say that I am, Pharaoh, or I am descended from the pharaohs, but at the same time, I am. Like, when I go into a museum and I see a statue or a mummy or all that, there's a feeling, it's like, oh, grandpa, something like that, like, yeah, we did this. There's a feeling when you go to the pyramids and you cannot not feel proud. But at the same time, the values that I was taught growing up are Arab. The culture, the guidelines on how to live, all of it has come from Arab culture. You cannot distinguish them anymore. So that is how I have always identified, which is why I was very surprised when I did an ancestry test to find out that I am only 50% Egyptian. I am also, like, there's an Arab section. I am 20% Italian, which I don't know what came from. I don't know how that.
Buongiorno. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Go on.
I don't know how. I don't know. Of course, like, these things, you can never trust them 100%. Who knows? And there's a whole other ethical conversation that we can have about DNA ancestry, but separate point. So I discovered that I was 20% Italian. There's a bit of Turkish, but I knew that because I knew that like my grandma's family originally came from Turkey when we were under control of the Ottoman Empire. So that wasn't a surprise. There's a little bit of Moroccan. There's a little bit of East African, which was surprising as well. But yeah, so that was a surprising thing to me, honestly.
All right.
But I mean, it wouldn't be accurate to say I am Egyptian, not Arab.
So with me now that when you go to the museum, like you were saying, when you look at the mummy or you look at the artifacts or looking at the presents that are dating back to 5,000 years, you can't really say these are my ancestors. That is the question I'm asking you. Can you say that?
100%.
All right.
100%.
Okay.
And I can go on forever about the achievements of ancient Egyptian civilization and how there's so many things that still exist in the world that originated from this. For example, the idea of a king or a supreme ruler that is a way of governing that is still in place. So if you look at even constitutional monarchies nowadays, the idea of a supreme ruler that has the right to rule, that is originally an Egyptian concept.
So, but then you were also saying that when you were growing up, or I assume that is how the education is in the Middle East. Which, by the way, the Middle East, okay, we can say that is East Africa, because Africa will extend to Asia. Okay, then we probably can talk, have a lot of argument about what is the Middle East, what is the middle of what are we actually talking about, because somehow
it is a very colonial term.
Okay. So that all the part that we call Saudi Arabia, all to that point until you get to India, because Africa actually have a handshake with Asia.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we can leave that beside. But what I'm sort of trying to understand now is that you were talking about the Arabic culture or Arabic way of life, Arabic value. I think that is how you put it. That is what you grew up with, which is now when we are comparing that, it will appear that they will have also another value, which might be Egyptian value. And at the point you said they both mix up at the end of the day. Is that correct?
They have merged at the end of the day. I'll explain.
Yeah.
And I'm going to generalize a little bit because in this sense, Egypt is not very different from what I would say are Middle Eastern, Arab, even Asian cultures. And here I would put Egypt in the same category as those countries versus what is called Western culture. For example, Egypt is a very family-oriented society.